Welcome back to Split Screen Experiences, episode 3 now. I'm once again joined by my ever-talented co-host.
Armin.
And so what's the scoop? What are we going to talk about?
Well, today I was thinking about talking about game exclusives and really if you think they're good for the gaming environment or if you think we should start moving away from game exclusives with the introduction of cross-platform.
I'm interested here, actually. What are your thoughts on that before I throw my hat in the ring?
I'm starting to lean more towards game exclusives should not be a thing anymore.
Mhm.
While they kind of will determine what console you buy.
Sure.
We're getting to a point now where it doesn't matter what console or PC game device really you buy. If it has cross-platform, you can play with anyone on each system. So I think just trying to still have that barrier of what console people should buy is getting outdated. And really, gaming's become such a big part of people's lives nowadays that I shouldn't have to go out and buy another console if I wanted to play a game that's only on PlayStation or Xbox.
Yeah, it's the gaming ecosystem's gotten so vast, especially in the last, I mean, you've seen, especially since like a couple years before the pandemic, I feel like we really saw a boom where a lot of people were getting into it that before were like, gaming's for nerds. I mean, I remember when that was the whole thing throughout most of my life was like, oh, you play video games? That's weird. But like, it's such a big thing now to be so selective with who you can play with just based off the machine you're running, to me does feel very outdated because I think I could speak for most people growing up playing Halo. I would have loved to have more people in the queues because there's people on the PlayStation playing it, or whatever. Like, to me, that seems like the idea of using like proprietary games to sell machines is very behind the ball at this point, which is why I think Xbox is trying to supposedly they're bringing their games to PlayStation, but
Yeah, I saw Xbox's that Sea of Thieves, and there was another game that were slated to become PlayStation games as well within this coming year.
yeah, I believe the other one was Hi-Fi Rush.
I wanted to say Hi-Fi Rush, but I didn't want to also say it and be wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right on the ball with that one. I'm pretty sure that's what they said. Well, they haven't. I don't think they've said anything yet. I think this is all like leaks and internal documents and word of mouth and probably some degree of people BSing on the internet. But
I do know that Starfield is coming to PlayStation.
which again, it's like the other side of that argument is. But here's the thing: no other company is going to do what Xbox is trying to do if that's what they're going for. If we put every single Xbox game on PlayStation, not one PlayStation game will come to Xbox. That's just a fact. Like,
You think PlayStation's going to give up Last of Us or God of War? God forbid, Uncharted?
right. And it's like, because I feel like, I mean, at least like certain titles, like I'm sure Marvel would like to open up their market with Spider-Man, since Marvel seems to have a lock, other than Blade will be just Xbox, unless we're putting their shit over there, putting our stuff over there. Because that's done by Arcane, I believe, is the one who's helming the Blade game project, if memory serves. But yeah, you'd think that of all people, the money-hungry titan that is Disney would want to get their game on as many machines as possible. Not the fact that it doesn't even come to PC, because I think the first game came to PC somewhat recently, maybe, or I might be misremembering that, but it might not even be on PC yet, because the way PlayStation treats their exclusive titles. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree. With PlayStation just owning Sony, well, PlayStation is Sony. Man, I'm really dropping the ball here.
You're good.
With Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man would be pretty successful, especially by Disney standards, if it were able to come to Xbox. And while Halo might not be as popular on PlayStation, there would definitely be a large group that would be like, "Oh, I don't have to buy a PlayStation to play Xbox or to play Halo now. This is great."
I always think opening that up to people is always a good thing.
And then the console wars can end because it's just kind of been a stalemate after PlayStation's kind of kicked Xbox in the face for a while because of their exclusives.
Well, it's not that they've been doing it for a while. Well, I guess at this point, time is moving a little bit faster than I care to admit. But like the thing we all know, we lost the next gen war. 360 dominated that era. The 360 ran games better than PS3. The PlayStation like demands for how games had to be formatted caused developer strife. This is not like a crackpot conspiracy. This is fact. This is why, like in Skyrim on PS3, if your file save got too big, it just overrid itself and went back to the opening cutscene because the way they had to format their stuff, they were so foreign to it that it was not intuitive at all for these devs. But then when the next gen came around, I think Xbox underestimated what Sony was going to do. They released the Xbox One, which was notoriously bulky. I feel like mine pretty much out of the box had a loud fan. We had that brick power adapter, whatever, AC converter in the hookup, and we lost. And then Sony changed the game by investing pretty much everything into their exclusives. Because obviously they'd done it before. They had their Uncharted and whatnot. But you see The Last of Us come out. You see God of War 2018. Like, in Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima and all these games, like they really started just cranking out, heavy hitters. I mean, for the most part, I have my own stance on some of those games, but they're well-received games by the community as a whole. And versus Xbox, what have we had to say for the last 5 years in terms of we're just a renowned success?
Right. Xbox is definitely more old-fashioned with their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of shown in some of their video games because they're still kind of trying to play off of a market that's no longer there.
Very true.
For example, using the same damn engine for all of their Bethesda games. I guess it's more Bethesda, but
I mean, it's an Xbox thing now.
Now that they own them, they can be like, hey, upgrade this.
Like, and I've always said, there's no shame in like buying the rights to use an engine. I don't think every studio needs to have a proprietary engine. I know they all want that so they can be like, look at what we did. We made this, but like that's great and all. The Creation Engine 2.0 or whatever was great when you released it in 06 and you patched it through all these games. And as the games came out, they were fine. They were serviceable. Again, Fallout 4, I feel like very quickly you can see the paint chipping, paint peeling, whatever, in terms of just the mechanics of how NPCs walk, how they look at you, the facial expression, like all that's very animatronic. And it's not for the reason of trying to sell the whole who's a synth thing that Fallout 4 kind of didn't really take advantage of as a side note. But yeah, there's no shame in just buying the rights to like Unreal 5 or whatever other engine on the market where you can just pay to use it.
Right. And then you got games that really don't need Unreal Engine 5 and they for some reason have it. Like Fortnite.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Fortnite needs it. Fortnite's never been renowned for their graphics. It's always been like the bright colors and crossover events that they are known for, and the building. But me as someone who can't build, I don't like to do that.
I think you speak for most people in our age group when you say that.
Unless you're pro.
Yeah, unless you're pro. For some reason, they stick around.
Another being a new addition to the Unreal Engine family, Smite.
Yeah. Smite 2.
I like Smite. I don't really see why they need to do it. I think the games hasn't been as popular as has been in recent months. I think without upgrading to Unreal Engine 5, they could still be fine.
Like, I get why they're doing it in that instance in terms of like they talked about in their keynote. Like, Smite has been around for a long time. I mean, like, it's like a 10-year-old title. It'd be like us, with GTA 5 to 6. That's what we're looking at here, depending on when it comes out, actually. I'm expecting next year. We'll see. But I think there will be a big leap, and I think maybe the Unreal version factor might be why we haven't seen that many like super innovative things with gods and character. The gods are characters in that game for anyone who doesn't know. The gods have really not had too many unique improvements from person to person because I think the engine kind of dictates what they can and can't do. I could be wrong here. I could be, talking out of my rear, but I think that might play into it, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely see indeed because Smite's currently what they're doing their beta or their
closed alpha.
Closed alpha.
Yeah.
And then on Smite 1, they're having an event where if you play and use the gods that are going to transfer over, then you'll receive bonus items when Smite 2 launches. Is that what the Divine Legacy is?
Divine Legacy makes it to where if you've consistently invested time and mastery for different gods from different eras of the game, basically each year, which used to be each season, and then they kind of recently went to 4 seasons a year or whatever, but that's a different discussion. But basically, for each year that you complete with the different challenges in terms of, yeah, there'll be like one for playing 50 hours worth of gods from that year, mastery of like 5 gods from that year, or whatnot. Maybe it's 4, I can't remember. Basically, you tier up, and then for each tier, you get a skin for Smite 2 for a god that happens to be carrying over, which is about a quarter of the roster from what we know, maybe a third. Worth checking out if you're interested in Smite 2 and you played Smite 1 back in the day. It might be worth looking to see if your guys come into the next one.
Do you think they're doing that huge roster cut because they've realized some of the gods, no matter how much they like rework, there's just no saving them and balancing?
I think that's definitely a possibility. I would hope that that's not the exclusive reason. I'm hoping that would just be like a contributing factor, because if a god is just not balanced correctly, to me, it's like just take them down to the ground level and rebuild instead of, and maybe that's what they'll be doing as they bring them into Smite 2. It's just we're going to completely redo their kit, and they don't have the time to get them in the game for launch, even though they've not exactly announced a launch. They definitely have struggled with balancing gods in Smite for years, considering the old method was just, this guy's doing well, make his mana cost higher. And that was great and all, until new gods came out and had stronger abilities than the old ones, and then their mana costs were significantly less. Like when Poseidon kept getting nerfed with mana hits and all that, because Poseidon is Poseidon, dropping a Kraken bomb every minute or so, and his ult used to cost like, I think it got up to like 300 mana, which is a lot, especially in the early game. That basically just depletes them instantly. But then they had new mages come along, and they're like, okay, maybe not. And it's like, right, that you can't just nerf them on energy cost.
Yeah, as you said, newer mages were coming out with stronger abilities, so that way of thinking got very old very quickly. Something else that we've wanted to do on this podcast, and we haven't really talked about yet, is we want to talk about other like forms of media and entertainment other than video games. I think today is going to be the first episode that we do that.
Today's the day. Today's the day.
I want to talk about like some movie series. I know we've talked about video game adaptations. Kind of want to stay away from that. But although we can talk about movies that have had adaptations, but the movies like came first, and we didn't get games for like several years later.
Like the Avatar game.
No, I was going to say the Space Marines. Right? Space Marines? Is that it?
Yeah, the Warhammer stuff. Oh,
No, the Space Marines is Warhammer. What's the like game where it's that clip where it's like, I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part.
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers. Thank you. I was completely lost of what it was called.
Great movie.
Great movie. Well, I know we were gonna not talk about games, but wish that game was coming soon. But gonna move past that. So I feel like there are a couple options that you could choose, but what do you think has been like the most cinematic perfection to come out in, we'll say, recent years? Like going back, like it has to come out after 2010.
Cinematic perfection in the last 14 years.
Yeah.
Man, that's really good. What's come out in the last 14 years?
We got all of Avengers.
Yeah, I was gonna say Infinity
besides
War.
Besides Iron Man 1. So you really got all of Marvel to choose from. Besides like the older Spider-Mans too, I guess.
I'm trying to think because we got Rogue One. That was a really good movie.
Really good. I like Solo. Solo also thought was really good. People just boycotted it because they were mad at Disney at the time, so it was unfortunate. And I also think Infinity War came out like a week after it, or like I think it was backwards. I think Infinity War came out and then Solo came out.
Yeah, I think it was in the era where Disney was flooding themselves at the box office for some reason instead of scheduling their release dates further apart. Yeah, Solo was good.
You got Force Awakens going also into Star Wars. While it was something we've already seen before, that formula has proven to work in the past.
Yeah, I think everyone for the most part liked Force Awakens because you had seen the movie before. I did get a little. I mean, I wasn't like mad. I was like, oh, Disney, how dare you? But like when Han Solo dies, and like I remember people walked out of the theater, and it's like, I don't think it's actually that bad of an idea, especially because Harrison Ford is so miserable on set and like does not want to be Han Solo. Killing him was probably the right call. I wish we would have seen at least one scene with him, Leia, and Luke in the sequel trilogy, but we never get that. We don't even get that with the new trio until the last movie, which is another complaint, but I won't get into that. But Force Awakens was fun. Like
I agree. I enjoyed Force Awakens.
watching Kylo catch the plasma bolt or whatever, the blaster shot. Great.
Yeah, within like the first like 5 minutes, and you're like, what
Yeah.
the hell?
Because up until that point, we were like, that's not real. I think they had said that wasn't a thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but he
I
was
know
just strong
Vader's
enough.
done it, but I don't think he's done it in a movie. I think it's only been comics.
Because in Empire, when they open the door to the dining room, Han like just shoots him in the hand. Like,
It's like parries it.
yeah. So, which I know that's also a limitation of the era of filmmaking, but even then, I don't think Lucas really had the idea that he's going to stop the bolt. But it's a cool shot, and I'm willing to suspend my disbelief and go, yeah, they have magic powers; they could stop a blaster shot. I guess it's not magic; it's science because they have the midichlorians. Still don't like that part, but it's like, oh, you have a higher percentage of parasites in your back or bacteria in your blood or whatever.
Going on the movie masterpiece, I think my pick is going to be Captain America, either Civil War or The Winter Soldier.
They're so good.
I really like Civil War because it's basically a mini Avengers movie.
Yeah, exactly. You get Black Panther introduced and Spider-Man, like great.
And that like underground chase scene with the Winter Soldier and Black Panther.
Mhm.
As much as there were times where it didn't look right, I still enjoyed that scene very much.
Plus, it has the best Black Panther suit, and I will not be taking any criticisms of this. The physical suit is infinitely cooler than the stupid nanotech one with the kinetic boosts. I cannot stand that stuff. It's much more threatening to just be a dude who's really fast wearing an adamantium or whatever suit or vibranium suit, and then just kung fu athleticism beats you to death. Like that's way cooler.
You know what's also cooler? Throwing a shield and knocking them out.
Oh yeah, that is
Or
cool.
killing them in the TV series.
Yeah, U.S. agent
John Walker, that's his name?
Yes, I think that's right. That sounds right.
Basically decapitates a dude.
Right, operating like on his own, and then he wonders why he gets in trouble. Because I'm pretty sure I only watched the show one time, but from what I remember, he's operating on his own and killed a guy, and then wondered why he got in trouble. It's like because that wasn't a sanctioned mission, like, and you got caught. Like our real world government has unsanctioned missions all the time. You just don't make headline news with them. That's how we continue to do them. Like,
You don't do it in public in front of people on their phones recording.
yeah. Typically, it's in a Black Hawk helicopter under the cover of night. Like,
And Disney, we've really been talking about Disney this episode.
well, when they own 49.9% of all media or whatever, it's kind of hard to avoid them.
Talked about Marvel in the first half with the video games. Now we're talking about their movies.
We can rip on Indiana Jones if we want. I know you haven't seen them, but
yeah, that's gonna be kind of hard for me to do
because they had Dial of Destiny come out, and it was a movie. Like it wasn't bad. It wasn't like offensively bad. Like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That was bad, objectively. But Disney's had a little bit of a tumultuous era in the last decade. Really high highs and some really low lows.
I've kind of gathered that from their movies. Maybe they're really good or
yeah. Because what was the last genuinely good Marvel movie you saw?
the last one I saw, probably Guardians 3. Doctor Strange.
The first one or the second one?
Second one.
Oh.
I didn't watch the first one in theaters.
Oh.
I watched it when on that awkward time it was on Netflix.
Gotcha.
But other than that, I think the last time I watched a movie in theaters that I enjoyed was Endgame from Marvel.
Yeah, that's
a lie. Spider-Man. I watched Spider-Man, but
I didn't have a good theater experience with my No Way Home viewing. I was really upset because the guy next to me just reeked of nicotine. Like he smelled like he smoked 3 packs and then went into the theater and sat right next to me. So all I could smell was him, and that's all my brain could think about was how bad he smelled.
That's one of the reasons why I hate going to the movie theater, because your experience is completely external.
Yes.
Someone next to you doesn't shower or literally anything, just doesn't shut up.
Right.
Because I've had that. Kids hate kids in movie theater where they
Same.
shouldn't be there.
Yep.
It's just a pain because you're like, I've spent money to enjoy this movie and I can't enjoy it. The reason why I like during COVID, like you could pay like what, $16 to like watch the movie on Disney Plus.
It was $30, but you then could watch it as many times as you wanted.
What the hell do I think? 16.
I
Where am I getting 16 from then?
uh what Netflix used to cost per month. Yeah, because I'm pretty because we watched not me and you, me and someone else watched um the Black Widow movie at home, and we spent $30 and we could watch it as many times as we wanted. So we watched it one time because that movie was not very good.
No, I
Too much.
don't know why they waited till after spoiler for Endgame. I don't know why they waited till after her character death for her to finally get a solo movie.
And then like it's a nothing burger of a movie. There are things that are good in the movie. Like her entire like her family, quote unquote, is great. Her sister Yelena, her dad's David Harbour, he's the Crimson Dynamo, whatever, Russian Captain America. Uh
Say Russian Captain America.
yeah. He's great. The mom's pretty good too. She doesn't really get a whole lot to do or say that's like extremely memorable. But then like we have Taskmaster, but it's not really him. It's just kind of someone who can kind of fight okay. And they don't take full advantage of how Taskmaster works. I probably wouldn't have used him for a Black Widow movie to begin with, but and then you have the main guy who's like the handler of the widows who has a pheromone that makes people not hit him because that's a thing. And so she breaks her nose to not be affected by it.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, she just she slams her nose into his desk full force and breaks her nose. She's like, "See, now I can't smell it." So then she just beats him. And I'm like, "Yay. What an exciting conflict." I wish we would have had something a little smarter than that, but like not having I have anti beat me up pheromones coursing through my body.
Oh, that's also what sucks about COVID as well. Kind of like rushed a ton of things.
Because they were worried about keeping their lights on with the production costs that these projects take. Like if for them to not have like the parks operating or at least not at full capacity, I think Disney was squirming. They knew it could have been bad. So they released some mediocrity to try to cash a quick check to buy some time.
What movie trilogy or I guess series, in case there's more than three, would you say is probably one of your all-time favorites?
I'm going to avoid Star Wars and Marvel because that feels we've already talked about both of them, but also it feels very like low-hanging fruit. Obviously,
Mhm.
the original trilogy of Star Wars is phenomenal. Even though like episode 4, the more I watch episode 4, I think the less I like it just because it compared to the next two is just nowhere near as good. It's still good. It's just only by comparison I don't really care for it and it feels kind of slow at times, but not getting into Star Wars, not doing Marvel. I'm gonna have to say I might end up back on the Indiana Jones train. I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head movie like series or trilogies that are just that solid. I'll lock in Indiana Jones trilogy. I'm only taking the first three though. I'm leaving the other two behind. What about you?
I'm gonna have to, man, I had an answer, and then you asked me, and then I'm not sure if that answer I want.
Don't be shy.
I, you can always, I always like the Dark Knight trilogy
Mm,
or the Christian Bate Batman, that true movie trilogy. I don't know if it's the Dark Knight.
yeah, Dark Knight trilogy.
I like that movie trilogy. Going more into an animated film, I like the How to Train Your Dragon films by DreamWorks. DreamWorks trilogies in general because I like Kung Fu Panda, also good ones. And the fourth one coming out actually, Kung Fu Panda. I wasn't expecting that.
Which I have mixed feelings about based off the trailer.
And you have Shrek. Shrek's iconic.
And he has three really good movies, and then there's one that no one remembers.
The third,
Yes, a third.
I actually have a video game of that one for the 360.
I think I had Shrek 2 for the PlayStation 2. I think everyone had one of those Shrek movie tie-in games.
I don't even know if I beat it. Oh, I think I did. I think I had my dad beat it for me because I was too young to understand certain parts of that game or how to beat it. I don't know if he actually knew what to do or if he was just able to figure it out because it's a kid's game.
Right. My dad had to help me with when I was a young boy playing Lego Star Wars Complete Saga. On the first mission of Episode 3, where you're flying with Anakin and Obi-Wan, my brain, as like a 7-year-old or whatever, didn't understand flight controls, like pulling down being up and pulling up being down. And so I thought my game was broken, and then my dad had to come in and do it because for whatever reason my kid brain could not comprehend that it wasn't up is up and down is down.
See, that one never really gave me much trouble. It was the pod racing mission on episode 1 and the stupid gunship mission on episode 2.
Gunship Calvary.
I hated that one. I almost stopped playing because I couldn't beat it.
Were you one of the people that kept dropping the bombs in the little holes on the map?
No, to be fair, I don't remember what I did. I just know that it took me a while to actually beat it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. The pod racing one definitely messed with you because if you didn't have effectively a flawless run, you could not beat the Sebulba.
No, and God forbid you play that mission on split screen.
No, yeah, no. You can't see anything.
No, because half your screen's taken up by seeing the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's awful. I made that mistake one time and I was like, what am I looking at? It's just ADHD fodder. It's like those TikToks where you're scrolling through and it's like Subway Surfers and Family Guy clips at the same time.
It's basically that because it's just two video. That's all split screen is, essentially. And God forbid if you focus on both of those screens at the same time.
Right. There's certain games where it's okay. Like, like I love the game, was it Screen Cheaters, Screen Peekers? That's a really fun one where the whole premise is like you can't see other people on your like your corner of the screen, but you can see from you have to peek at them to see where they're at. That's the only time like split screen game I went, they did it. They figured it out. It also erupts into arguments, which makes it funny.
It does. Oh, you were looking at my screen.
I don't know what you're talking about. Dog, I'm literally looking at my screen. Look, and you're just staring blankly at a TV.
There's like 2 to 4 of you all huddled around a TV trying to play like a custom game on Call of Duty.
Right. Yeah, that was the big one. Yeah, either Halo, mainly like Halo 3, and then like COD 4, MW2. Like,
were you looking at my screen? No.
Nope. How'd you know I was there?
I was there.
Yeah, exactly.
Lucky guess there's a UAV.
I don't see it. Oh, weird. You just lie. That game, like split screen gaming, taught people to lie, like through their teeth.
You got really good at lying if you're really good at split screen gaming.
Right. Dog, I'm literally not looking at your screen. Immediately looks down at their screen. Spent 85% of the match actively looking at their screen instead of yours, just blindly moving to try to figure out where it lines up, like visually.
Looking at their map and my map at the same time, like, let's see how I can figure this out.
Some cool tactics, I'll say. Do they translate to normal gameplay? No, but
no, not at all. God forbid if you had did the split screen online. Oh, that sucked.
Oh,
hated that.
And then you knew people were doing it in like Call of Duty lobbies because it'd be like whatever gamer tag, and then that gamer tag with parentheses 1 or whatever parentheses 2.
Yeah, because half the people didn't want to pay for a second gold account. So it was just, yeah. It would be like Darth Harmon parentheses 1.
And I would make it a project to come and get them, and it's like deliberately hunt them down.
The worst I've ever hated split screen was back during Call of Duty World War II. And a group of my buddies, we had 8 people. Only 4 TVs though. Each person got a buddy on their TV, and we played Prop Hunt, which Prop Hunt is half the team, half the lobby turns into like just various items laying around the map, and they have to try to blend in, either clever or stupid. Yeah, either way can work. While the other half have to go and hunt them down before the time limit. Yeah, we really didn't think that too far when one person hears a whistle and you're like, well, who is that for? And you're not next to each other.
Yeah, you're all in one room with 4 TVs and you just hear a whistle come out of every screen. It's like, well, good luck, everyone.
Yeah,
something like that. Where audio is so important. Like
playing split screen on an audio based, where audio is very much needed, is not a good idea. And now I'm kind of glad Rainbow Six Siege never introduced split screen.
You imagine?
You imagine hearing footsteps next to one person who's across the other side of the map, and the other guy's freaking out.
Don't. Like, where's it coming from? Like, it's just schizophrenia simulator at that point. Like, they're in your walls.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Split Screen Experience. I think we talked about Disney. Kind of hard not to talk about them a lot. But I think we were able to talk about some good movies, talk about some bad movies, and talk about a lot of video games, as always. But anyways, this has been Split Screen Experience, Episode 3, with your host, Harmon, and
Andrew.
Go watch the other two if you haven't done so yet. Be on the lookout for the next week when we upload Episode 4. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.